my friends, welcome back to another tutorial on a Patreon. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for your support, more importantly. And I have a beautiful beach, sandy kind of a scene for you today. It's on a 20 by 16 canvas. It's something which someone asked me a long time ago to paint, but it just went out of my head. I completely forgot, and I was kind of flicking through my camera during the week, you know, just looking at pictures that we could paint, and it just, I just saw it and it kind of caught my eye, so I thought, yeah, I have to paint that this week. It's a beautiful scene of a sandy kind of a path leading down onto a beach with some fence posts at either side, and you know, all the footprints in the sand with some shadows and that kind of thing. So I'm going to paint that this week. I'm very excited. I hope it turns out nice. I hope it does. But we can put our own little twist on it as well, as you well know. So that's what I'm going to paint this week. There's nothing else I think I need to show you at the moment. Let's just crack on and get painting and have some fun with this. Thank you so much. Get your stuff and follow me along if you want. I might try and get some plein air tutorials done, because the weather is picking up really nicely over here in Ireland. It's getting really hot and really sunny, so I'm definitely going to, in the next few days, pack my gear up, go off out somewhere nice, a nice little pond or a lake or something, and do a bit of painting, and I might try recording it. So we'll see what happens. Grab your stuff and follow me along here. It's going to be really fun. I can't wait to see how this turns out. Don't go anywhere. Okay, here we go. Let me fix my chair, and here we are. There's the reference photograph. Isn't that beautiful? A beautiful beach scene, and lots of perspective, lots of nice shadows here. A bit of work in this, but we'll get through it. Let's make a nice painting from this. I may put someone walking, maybe someone in a white dress or something like that. You know, make it nice. So let's crack on. We have a lot to do. This is going to be fun. Okay, I've a 20 by 16 canvas. Okay, I primed it once and I did a very rough sketch. This is my horizon line, so I put some masking tape across there just to make it nice and clean and sharp edge. My colours, I love the colourful palette today. You could do this with fewer colours, but I like to have a nice variety of colours for something like this. Titanium white, Naples yellow, cadmium yellow pale, a little cerulean blue. I'm not sure if I'll need that yet. Some burnt umber, burnt sienna, cadmium red, some alizarin crimson, lamp black, and a little phthalo blue for shadows. That's it. I think that's all we need. Let's crack on and have a bit of fun with this. A very subtle sky. I'm going to take my large stubby brush, dampen that in some thinners, just make it nice and soft and a little bit damp, and let's crack on. I'm going to mix, the sky has a kind of a greeny hue, a very slightly greeny hue going through it. I think that's to do with the sun, kind of at a certain angle, the way it's capturing the camera. I'm going to take some Naples yellow, some white, and a little cerulean blue, and I want a nice bit of turpentine in this now, nice and creamy. That's what we want. So we now have a nice turquoise green there. Okay, you can see that. Then I'm going to add a little touch of phthalo blue, little amounts as I go, until I get the hue that I want, the colour that I want, that I think I'm happy enough with. That might go nice over on this side. I don't want it too green, because there's not much green anywhere else in the photograph. It's only just a very slight hint of a kind of a green up on one side. So I don't want to go overboard with the green in this, but it's just a hint, a very slight hint. Now I've taken some phthalo blue, alizarin crimson, and a little white, and I want to put that on this side. And the colours in this are very warm. We have some lovely warm colours, but we have some lovely cool shadows as well. And that's where all the work is going to be. It's going to be very slow. I kid you not, it's going to be slow. So let's just keep most of the top half of this painting nice and simple, okay? A little bit of a mauve colour just there. Then as it comes across, I'm going to really start lightening this colour. right down to the horizon line, okay? And what I'm doing is I'm taking this pinky colour and I'm going up into the green, that greeny hue. I don't know if you can see this on camera now or not, but very, very subtle colours in this, okay? Very pale and very, very subtle. Now that's not bad, actually. That's not bad at all. I'll take a little Naples yellow and some white, okay? I'm just going to pop a little of that in just on this side to create that sort of, you know, that sort of a haze coming from the left-hand side of the painting. It has that wonderful kind of haze coming from that side. So I'm just going to soften some of that just on the left, okay? Now that's probably even enough. Let me just, again, stand back, always stand back and look at what you have, just to make sure you're happy enough with it. And that's good. I'll go with that. Next job. You see, wasn't that simple? A nice, simple, subtle sky. There's no point in putting loads of detail and clouds and all that kind of stuff in this sky because we have so much going on here. This is what the focus of the painting is going to be. Alright, let's mix a nice dark colour for our ocean. And I'm going to start with a basic, simple colour, some phthalo blue, some white, and a little cadmium red. Okay? Now that may make it a little bit muddy, I'm not sure. In fact, look, let's change and try alizarin crimson because I want it. Let me just have a look. Let me just keep comparing colours. I'm looking at the reference photograph and I'm comparing as I go all the time. I'm going to go with a little more crimson in this. It's slightly on the warmer side of the blue, okay? Now lean down hard and go for it. Just go for it. There we go. And you can see how smooth my canvas is because I just primed it once. Gave it 1 coat of primer and then I gave it a good rub with some fine sandpaper. And that really makes the surface nice and smooth. Really, really smooth. Now as it comes across, it's going to get slightly warmer. So a little bit more crimson in the mix. And I'll take a little white as I go along. And it's going to just lighten as it goes. You see? There we go, look at that, lovely. Whew, it's tricky getting straight lines with this, I can tell you. Now a little bit of crimson into that mix it all around. And it's going to be just nice and warm over on this side of that. Soften it across. Then continue with that colour, that phthalo blue with some crimson. Continue that right away across like so. Now I am going to darken this a little, okay, in a moment. So I'm going to take some phthalo blue, alizarin crimson. I'm going to take a hint of black, okay? A bit more blue. I want a rich dark colour. So just going to pop that through a little bit more blue actually in this. I want this nice and rich. And I'll show you why in just a moment, okay? Just going to pop a nice bit of dark colour through there. Okay, it's not bad. I'll take a bit more of the blue and a little hint of crimson. And I'm going to strengthen that colour just along there, look. Remember, it's always horizontal, okay? Left to right, right to left. Never up and down or at an angle like that. When you're painting water, no matter what angle the camera is at, the brush strokes will always be horizontal like this. Just try to bear that in mind, okay? Now I'm going to put that down and I'm going to go to another brush. Okay, I'll call it a medium flat brush. And let me just give this a clean to make sure it's nice and clean and soft. Alright, And I'm going to put some lighter colours in over here. I'm going to take some white, a little Naples yellow, and a little crimson, all right? Mix those together, and I'm going to put that very bright colour. Just allow that to creep in like so. Now clean the brush, because it picks up the blue and it gets dirty. So clean the brush and go back in again. And then we can start softening this colour across. Like that. Now clean the brush again. Go back into that colour again. Now, and bring some of that in over here. I'm actually going to take some crimson with some white and use that nice bright pink colour. Bring some pink in over here. So now you can see it's kind of graduating to a lighter colour. And at the same time, I'm then going to take a darker colour. So let's just get some phthalo blue, alizarin crimson, and a touch of black. The black is very strong, so be careful. Just a little touch is all you need. I'm going to get that nice rich dark colour, a bit more crimson, and I'm going to go along, start just sweeping some of that in there. Look, I'm just flicking my brush left to right. So it's just kind of scraping across on the canvas. Understand? It's not, you see, they're not very fine lines. I'm just scraping it across, letting it dance around on the canvas. This is going to be some of the darks, okay? Up here, soften it all the way up. I'm not going right to the edge. So now we're already starting to see some nice movement in the water, aren't we? Okay, let's clean that brush and just put that to one side for a moment, all right? And I'm going to get, I'm thinking perhaps a palette knife. Well, I was going to use a palette knife. What I'm going to do is, I'm actually going to take this brush back again, get some white, some phthalo blue, plenty of each, and a little hint of cadmium red this time. I'm going to make a nice soft colour, a nice soft kind of a grey blue, and I'm going to come down here and I'm going to bring that colour almost down onto the sand, okay? And you'll see in a moment why I'm doing this. So bring it down here, just transferring from that dark colour down into a light colour. Let me take a hint of thinners. Some more phthalo, some more white. And I'm going to come down and soften that down. Just like so. So it's getting nice and bright. Now, what I'm going to do next is, I'm going to mix some of that colour with my palette knife, alright? Take some white, hint of phthalo blue, mix those together. Maybe a hint of crimson just with the point of the knife. Soften that in. Now, you have a nice soft blue there, okay? I'm going to make a roll of that on my knife. I'm just going to go along. Now, this would be ideal if I was using like an MDF board or something, because it's sort of catching the grain of the canvas just here and there, and it's not forming very solid lines. I wanted to get nice kind of sharp edges with this. You could put on plenty of paint, but I don't want to ruin it. So look, I'm just going to go along and suggest some brights in the water with this palette knife, going completely straight left to right, okay? I'm going to take more white and another tiny hint of phthalo blue. Give those a good mix. And I'm just going to suggest in between some of that dark, some of these nice lighter hues, perhaps even a bit more phthalo blue in this. So you can now see we have some nice brights in the water as well. And you don't have to go crazy with this. You don't have to go absolutely crazy with this if you don't want to. Let me just take another hint of phthalo blue, because further up I want to make this a lot more blue, you see. I just want to give it a hint of, it's kind of a rich blue in there, tucked in just here and there, going off in the distance. I'm only going left and right with the edge of my knife, okay, with the sharp edge, and I'm allowing the canvas to kind of drag this off. Now, if you're not confident with this, you can just leave it as it was. But I think this is a wonderful way of creating just lots of movement on the water. Okay, soft brush. And just up on top, I want to soften these off into the distance, okay? Just a few. Okay, just like that. Then I'm going to take some nice bright colour, some white, and I'm going to come down here and suggest some waves just sort of breaking around the front here and there, okay, just like that. The next thing we're going to do is I'm going to take a medium brush, okay, a medium flat brush, and I'm going to mix a nice sandy colour, but a warm sand colour. Now, how do you make a warm sand colour? Okay, you're better off going slightly darker than lighter. You think of sand as a bright, kind of creamy yellow type of a colour. In actual fact, a nice sandy colour is like a pinky fawn kind of a colour, cappuccino colour. Let's take some Naples yellow, little hint of crimson. That's a nice warm colour now. And I'm going to take in that, let me see, I'm going to take more crimson. I'm going to take a hint of phthalo blue, okay? That gives you a very warm sandy colour. Okay, you see? Now, you could do it another way if you want. You could mix a nice mauve. So let's mix some more. Let's take some blue, some pink, okay? Then to that you could add Naples yellow. But you need plenty of pink in this, okay? A little bit of pink. Take a bit of white, brighten it up. And then you could add a little burnt umber to that. And that will give you another lovely shadowy sand colour. Okay? So that's perfect for shadows on a sand. Let's take more Naples yellow into this. I take a hint of cadmium red. That's a nice warm colour. Okay, I'll put some lights into this in just a moment, so not to worry. Let me get some more of that. Some Naples yellow, cadmium red. And let's go with that nice. Sand kind of tends to be slightly on the pinky side when you're doing a painting, rather than being just a bright kind of a yellow. That's what I've kind of always noticed, especially with painting. If you make it slightly pinky, it just, for some reason, it tends to work much better. So you can see, for example, I have a nice mauve here, okay? If I put a nice mauve through the water here, it gives you the feeling of the sand going out into the water. And you could even soften it through the blue as well. Now, because we have so much pink in our colour, it's not going to go green or anything like that. It's going to soften lovely into that ocean colour. You see? And we could do another bit over here. So look, going out into the water. Isn't that lovely? You can see also I'm using very thin mixes, okay? I'm not putting tons and tons of paint on this. So it's a thin mix and you build up your layers, then that's the trick with oils. You put on thin mixes, scrape them on, and you build on top of that, all right? That's what I find. Now, I'm going to start putting in some lights, just some little highlights, sandy colour highlights. Let's take some Naples yellow and a hint of crimson. So we've Naples yellow with a hint of crimson, and then let's just pop in a couple of highlights. The light is kind of catching the sand just here and there, okay, but it's not very, very bright. Another one or two just across here, softening it in. And that little touch of Naples yellow just tells you that it's sand, doesn't it? It's like a trick of the eye. You see? So it's not a sandy colour, but you can see it's kind of a beach going out into the ocean. Let's take another little bit of that. Let's put a little bit across here, just a touch. And what I'm going to do then is, I'm going to take a dark colour with my pointy brush, let's say a little hint of burnt umber, mixed with this mauve colour we have. And I'm going to put even a hint of black as well, look. Tiny hint of black. I'm going to put that just along the base of this sandy kind of area there, where it goes out into the ocean. Just a hard line, just along there. And that just kind of sits it in the water a little better. Just that bit of dark, just where it goes out into the ocean. You can see there's a kind of a darkness just around the edge of that sand. And soften it in. Flick it back with your brush, just like so. So doesn't that help? It just really makes a big difference. Bring it back, okay? Soften it backwards. A very thin colour, okay? Plenty of turpentine in this. This side as well goes all the way back. You can see I have very little paint on this brush. It's sort of just using the grain of the canvas to drag it off. That's all I'm doing. And then you could put maybe one or two darks across the sand like this as well. And I'm going to soften them back. There, it just helps. It just sort of brings it to life, a little darkness. Now you can do the same with a little white. Let's take some white with this bright cerulean blue, or this bright phthalo blue rather. And I'm going to put some of that across just in front of this. And bring a little bit of that just across there, okay? Just sort of flick it across. Isn't that lovely? A little bit of titanium white on its own. And then we can go out here and let's imagine there's a tiny bit of a wave, a crest of a wave just breaking on the sand here. Okay. And I think I'll leave the beach at that. That's just enough, I think. Okay? Just enough. Right, how are we doing for time? 23 minutes, that's not bad at all, my friends. Not bad. There's one thing now that I can see that I want to fix, and it's just in here there's a nice bright area. So then we have bright against dark, okay? The shadow of this against the lightness of the sand. I'm just going to take some of the Naples yellow with white. And I'm just going to pop that in here, just to give us a nice bright area to go against, okay? There, does that make sense? Let's add a little bit more, just a tiny little bit. Soften that out. There we go, done. Simple as that, okay? Simple, keep it simple. I'm thinking, what should I do next? Where should I go? I suppose we could start working on this side over here and work across perhaps. Or let's do these two grassy banks. We could do those if you want. Let's try the grassy banks. The grassy banks, it's nice dark colour over here, so I'm just going to dampen this brush. I could use this brush as well. It might be a little big, or even something like this. I'll go with this. Nice kind of a rough brush, okay? Nicely splayed out. And these are soft brushes, soft synthetic brushes. Let's go with some burnt umber. In that. I'll take a hint of burnt sienna, because I can see a lot of burnt sienna in that. And perhaps even just with that colour, those two colours mixed, that may even be enough. Let's just flick that upwards to suggest that grassy verge there, okay? Now, I'm going to just fill it in underneath, just any way at all. This is just an under painting, okay? So don't worry too much about that. Take a bit more burnt umber. Pop some darker burnt umber just up there, you see? So you can see already we've created some grasses just with this brush. And I'm going to take some Naples yellow into that. As it comes down, you see, it's going to just start catching some light. And I'm bringing that colour right down then into the path. Okay. I'm just going to bring that colour down roughly to where the top of the sand meets the grasses. As it comes forward, I'm going to add a little black into that with some sienna. So it's just darkening slightly here. And this will allow me then to put some nice bright highlights in later on, okay? We could even use some of that darker colour in here as well. You see a bit of a dark colour in there. I'm just flicking it upwards, okay? Just catching my brush and flicking it up. But we do have a nice kind of a dark line there, don't we? So I want that nice and dark, rich. So burnt umber, some black and a little hint of crimson. And the warmth of the crimson will help. And go left and right like this, you see. Don't be shy. Give it plenty of direction. Okay, now again, stand back and take a look. Do you know, look every now and then. So I'm going to use some of that colour just at the opposite side here, only a little. Bring it in like that, okay? Coming up the bank. We have a nice big one here, very warm kind of a colour, don't we? So I'm going to put that one in here. And I'm just basically using some of my darks now. My colours, just to get some of the shadowed areas, okay? Now, I'm putting that brush down, and the next thing I'm going to do is get my detail brush, perhaps. I'm going to try my detail brush and try some little darkness around just down here, just sort of softening some darks upwards. And what I'm going to do next, I'm thinking very hard now about my next move. I think I will get my fan brush, okay. I'm going to take a nice fan brush and I'll dampen my fan brush. I'm going to start putting some highlights around on these. And I think just some Naples yellow, a little burnt umber, and a little white, okay. And I think that colour is just enough to catch some highlights. I don't want to make it too yellowy, so the burnt umber will help just tone it down ever so slightly, alright? And let me just try, see if I can catch some highlights just here and there. And particularly around here, there's a few nice ones kind of sticking up. So you can kind of get the idea. I'm just flicking tip of my brush just very gently. Just to catch the top edges where you feel the sun may be catching. Okay, let me try that again. I'll take a hint of cadmium red in this. I'm just going to give a little hint of light just down there. And I'm creating the curve of the grasses with the brush, okay? I'm kind of flicking them outwards, you see, at a little bit of a curve. And I might put a little hint of light just on some of these as well. Okay, then we get some more Naples yellow, little hint of burnt sienna, and I'm going to give a little light inside some of these as well, just to create some layers, okay, just a few little layers, that's all. See what I mean? Now what I'm going to do is take another brush and just fill all of this in here first with some nice bright colour, just like what we did a moment ago. Take some burnt sienna with some Naples yellow, and I want to fill this in with that colour. So the sun is going to coming across and hitting that bank, okay? I'll take a hint of burnt umber in that. And this is just a little base colour, just to help the paint kind of move around on top. That's really kind of all I'm trying to get with this. So we have this lovely flowy effect of the reeds kind of being blown across with the wind. All right. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to take, let me see now, what brush will I use? I could stick with a fan brush for this, and I'm going to get some nice dark colour, some burnt umber, some burnt sienna, a little cadmium red, and I'm going to just start suggesting those reeds blowing across, you see, and I'm turning the fan brush as I go. Let's try a little sienna in here as well. Okay, already you can start to see the movement, you know, you can see the movement. Let's take a little black and some burnt umber with a little cadmium red. And I'm going to get some nice darks in here. Just some 1 or 2 nice dark colours. Plenty of cadmium red in this. Even just cadmium red with black would work as well. Get some nice darks over here. And I get a couple of nice dark ones in here, creating the shape of the reeds, okay? And I'm going to put a hint of some dark colours just along the edge here as well. Isn't that lovely? So we already have a lovely grassy kind of a verge now on both sides. And you can see just by the direction of the brush how it kind of makes your eye believe that the wind is blowing in this direction. Let's get some 1 or 2 more darks just around here. Just want to create a nice grassy area. Okay, perhaps just 1 or 2 here. So let me just put that brush down for a moment, and I'm going to give it a quick clean actually, and I get some fresh turpentine, and I'm going to put some nice highlights in then over here. Nice bright highlights. I'm going to take some Naples yellow, a little cadmium yellow, and a little Naples yellow. That should give us a nice bright highlight, and it's just for across here, okay? So now we have a nice bright highlight against that dark sand in behind, you see? And we can put a few front of this as well. So that then pushes that dark just slightly back. See what I mean? Let's try that again. Okay, a couple of lights up there. And that's quite nice, isn't it? Now I'm going to just go over here and maybe even with just a hint of white and Naples yellow on its own, very bright colour, suggest some real bright straw kind of coloured ones just here and there. Okay, now I'll do the same on the other side just a little bit. And I leave it at that for now. I want to work in my sand, and then I can put in little flicks of lights and darks. In fact, we could even do some little flicks right now. Let's get that dark colour that we had earlier. This brush may not be pointy enough for this, but we could try a couple of little ones. You see what I mean? Just here and there. And perhaps 1 or 2 down in here. And it just sort of break it up, you know what I mean? You really want to get a very small pointy brush for this, but this will be okay just for now. Alright? And then you can do the same even with some brighter ones. Take a little Naples yellow and a little white and pop 1 or 2. Here and there, you see? Front of that black. So we're picking up different tones as we go along, picking up different lights and different darks. And that helps. Okay, I'll leave it at that for now. Let's do our sand. I'm excited to try the sand and really get some progress on that. Okay, and the final piece will be these wonderful posts we have sticking up. So let's work the sand in maybe on the right hand side first. I'm going to take some some Naples yellow, a little alizarin crimson, and with that colour, yeah, I'll go with that. Because it's in the sun, I'm just going to kind of work that in here. And you want to make this not too thick, but a nice thick colour, okay? I don't want it to be too thin. Just work it down into the bottom like that. You can see where I put my lines just as a guide, a very, very rough guide, so I know where to stop. Okay, Naples yellow, crimson again, that gives us a beautiful warm sandy colour. Okay, so we're going in front of these, creating some little mounds. And we go up here, goes up into this very slightly, but you know, you don't have to, you can just make this completely your own painting if you want. Now more Naples yellow again, a little crimson, and let's bring that down. Just fill this in for now, fill it all in all the way. See, and then what you can do is take some Naples yellow with some white and then put in some nice bright highlights like that, look. Coming down. Softening it downwards, you see. Isn't that lovely? So you're creating the edge of that bank then, you see. Let's try that over here. Let's get a nice bright one and bring it down and soften it downwards into the sand. And it does depend on the direction of your brush as well. So the direction of your brush will tell how the sand is falling. So if I go like this, look, you can see the sand is falling downwards, you see, and out, and it's leveling out then. So your brush stroke will tell the viewer what's happening to the sand, all right? That's just another little thing to bear in mind. You can take some very bright colour, little hint of cadmium yellow and white, and put some real bright colours in there. Soften them out. I will again get some of that bright colour and go down at the bottom here and really make that nice and bright, okay? Just like that. And then what I do is I take another small brush, like something small and flat like this, and I take some of my dark colour, burnt sienna with some burnt umber, and I put just a few little streaks of colour kind of going out into the sand, okay? Little bits of grasses, look, just to sort of break it up here and there. you see, and it does help. It just kind of breaks it up and it sort of merges the sand into the bank ever so slightly. Okay, you can get the idea. Now I'm going to take lots of sienna with some burnt umber, and I'm going to go for this one and bring some ones out like that, okay? And that then really does break up the sand. You see, just like that, look. And using a small pointy brush as well, of course you can bring a few out into the sand, just kind of single little ones on their own. So like here for example, 1 or 2, just like dart them around here and there, just the 1 or 2. Don't go crazy, just the odd one. And it just breaks up the area. Just breaks it up nicely, you see. Perhaps a little burnt umber. So just 1 or 2 dark ones. And just make little marks to suggest that there may be something there, like bits of rock or wood or something. And you know, it just again helps to break up the area, that's all. But I wouldn't overdo it. You don't have to go absolutely crazy with this. Okay. My friends, I'll call this part 1 finished. This is coming on really nice. Because I want to take my time, I need to charge that camcorder back up so I have plenty of power. I don't want to be running low on power, but before I do, I'm just going to put a suggestion of that shadowy colour. Let me show you. Some phthalo blue, some crimson, but it will be a lot more on the crimson-y kind of side, okay? Now, so you can see that kind of shadowy colour, maybe a hint of burnt umber in that, just to tone it down ever so slightly. But you can kind of see what I mean. It has that warm, shadowy kind of tone. And I make it even warmer again, but more crimson as it comes down, you see? So that's the idea that I kind of had earlier. Okay, so that's all to come. We're going to do all this work on this side, working with lovely shadows, taking our time, and then when it comes up high, it gets really deep. So right up in here then you can see real purpley colours. Okay, and they soften down then. So that's all to come. Stay tuned, don't go anywhere, I will be right back.